Today we're talking about the benefits of fasting because I found it's nice to just kind of take one day out of the week and try to avoid eating anything for 24 hours. And I started doing this because work in the office and it's hard to get exercise, so I try to get a lot of steps in on the treadmill or go for a walk around the neighborhood or something like that. But then sometimes it's difficult to get enough exercise when you don't have a job that requires you to be exercising. So one thing I thought I could do would be to just do sort of a kind of an intermittent sort of a fast. So usually what I'll do is I don't eat anything for breakfast usually. I just kind of eat dinner. But in this particular case, on a Friday night, I just don't eat anything at all. Skip that one meal and then I'll eat the following morning or something like that. Anyways, it's nothing really extreme. It's not a huge inconvenience. It's just is kind of a time to take a break from eating and then go into the weekend and come out of the fast. And I just think sometimes it's great to give your body a rest from consuming. But it's also true in other ways as well, not just food. If you take a break from things, it could be taking a break from social media, it could be taking a break from social connection with people, it can be taking a break from your phone. Anytime you really just kind of empty out the jar of your life, then you put back in the things that you really actually value, the things that really matter to you. You put them back in a mindful way. Then you realize there's a lot more room and your life is better off for it. And I remember when 9/11 happened a while back in 2001. George Bush, the president at that time, said that he would give up eating candy. I think jelly beans or something, that was his favorite candy. He'd give that up as a small sacrifice for the duration of the war to kind of remember the men and women who were fighting. And it wasn't really that it did anything for them. That's not really what it's about. It was just the symbolic act of giving up something so that you can use that as a chance to meditate on maybe people who don't have the luxuries you have, or to maybe give up a little bit of the noise so that you can focus your energies on things that matter. Sometimes I think it's also important to give up things just to prove to yourself that you are the master of your own life. So often we get into the habits that become like chains, and we're stuck going through these routines of waste in our life. And we're not doing things that we want to be doing. We're not getting things done that have been on the bucket list for years of our life. And we wonder, what do we need in order to have a breakthrough of some kind? And I think really what it comes down to is you've got to get desperate. I had a guy doing some work in my apartment, and he was, giving me his life story while he patched the ceiling. And he was talking about how he used to do meth, and he got in with the wrong crowd and stuff. And this was, quite a few years ago. And then, of course, he kind of got out of that lifestyle and cleaned himself up and, moved to a different state, and, his life's better now. But when I hear these stories, what's interesting to me is almost always these stories are stemming from some kind of a crazy catalyst where people had something terrible happen, and then that was their wake-up call, where they were forced to walk away from those bad habits and say, you know what, all right, now I'm going to do something different with my life, because I do not have the option to follow the path that I was on before. And we have to get to that point, that willingness of dying to yourself, that moment in our life when we're serious about change, when we really aren't going to just talk about it, and we're going to really do something different with our lives. And it's realizing, you only have so much time in life. You got to make each day count. If you want to do things, you got to make a point. I'm going to do those things today. Doesn't mean that you have to do everything today. It doesn't mean that you should have that attitude of, oh my goodness, if I didn't do 100 different things in one day, then I'm wasting my life and I'm out of time. You don't need to have that kind of a frenzied attitude. But you do need to realize that we don't have an unlimited amount of time, and you got to be serious enough about changing your life to give up something. It's easy to think that you want to add more stuff to your life, but the truth is you can't add more things into your life without taking some things away. You've got to say, okay, I want to add this value, and so I'm going to give up this other thing to make room for that. Now, in our lives, we often have a lot of waste, Like you can't get through your favorite TV show, and you can't get through your favorite video game and all that kind of stuff because you're too busy scrolling your phone, right? Like it's that age-old thing of we're too busy being distracted to focus on any of the things that we actually say we want to do. And we also have a lot more time than we realize, because if we give up the things that are overt waste, then there's probably plenty of time to do stuff we want to do. But you've just got to get serious about it to where you really say, you know what? I'm gonna do something different with my life today. So for me, it's a lot of different things, like catching up on video games and reading books and reading news magazines and spending time journaling, all that stuff. It's so easy to go through a week and not pick up a book and not read anything, and just to start having that mindfulness instead of spending a day scrolling through stuff, to just be mindful about what I'm doing. And the more I do it, the more easy it gets. And I think there's a lot to be said for how a habit doesn't happen overnight. You have to do something for a while, but once you build a new habit and you start to get better about following through, then after a while you don't have to get up every day and remind yourself to do all of these things. You just do them, and then it gets easy. And then after a while, you don't have to really worry so much about forcing change into your life, because the changes are habitual. That's why I think it's important to have a routine of change in your life that you're working on, but make them simple things. Like you don't have to say, I'm going to read an entire chapter in a book every day. You could just say, I'm going to read a page out of a book every day. I'm going to at least write a paragraph in a journal or something like that. Like, you don't have to make it something which is going to take up hours out of your day. You can just have some simple little things that you're challenging yourself to do. And then the more you start doing those things every day, it gets easier to replicate that and build off of it. And then after a while, you know, it just gets easier. So start building good habits, start giving up things, and, if you will, fasting, to pause some of the noise in your life so that you can make sure that you're committing your time, your energy to value positive endeavors. I was reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome. He said, I learned good morals and government of temper, modesty, piety, beneficence, and abstinence, not just from evil deeds, but evil thoughts, simplicity of living, removed from the habits of the rich, to be neither of the green nor of the blue party at the games, nor a partisan at the gladiators' fights. He said, I learned endurance of labor, to want little, to work with my own hands, not to meddle in the affairs of others, not to listen to slander, not to busy myself about trifling things. We all know pretty much what we ought to do in life. We have a pretty solid understanding. We just have to start listening. And I think in many ways, a lot of us live our whole lives like a person who's out of shape and obese, and they always say they want to be healthier and more fit tomorrow. But today, they're going to spend the afternoon on the couch and then go to McDonald's. And, you know, nothing changes until we get desperate enough to actually give up something so that we can add something new into our lives. As always, good luck on your adventure, and till next time, thanks so much for watching.